Welcome, Dr. Tucci Okafor, and we are having today one another match candidate in internal medicine in Connecticut, and she's going to share her experience, how she planned the match season, and then how she matched and what she did specifically. So that will be helpful to you guys. Welcome and congratulations again,
Thank you.
Dr. Tucci, and then I would like to ask you specific questions. Tell me a little bit about your inspirational story for the people who didn't match and for the people who are this year applicant.
Okay. So my story is one that is very, I'm guessing, it's probably not as unique because I'm sure so many people have probably been in my shoes or are currently in my shoes. But there was one thing my story just brought to me, and the most unique thing about my story was that I actually thought I was not going to match or get interviews because of my scores. And I think most people have that fear, to be honest. Um, Step one, I had 219, and step two, I had 214. Now, after step one, I was so certain that I was going to do so well in step two. Even step one, I was having great scores in the practice. Step two, I think my U World assessment two, I had 266 in my U World assessment two, and my step one NBME 18, I had 240. So these are pretty decent scores, and I thought, well, I have those scores, right? So why wouldn't I have that in the exam? But it was a different ball game in the exam. I was there, and then I spent so much time on a question, and it was just a it wasn't just a good experience for me. And you can imagine my frustration when I got my step two CK results and was even lower than my already low score in step one. And I was so devastated. So what I tried to do was, okay, fine, you know what? I have these low scores. I can't change them. There's nothing I can do. What can I do now to improve my CV? What can I do to help, to make my CV look better, look appealing, irrespective of those scores? And that is why I started looking into, okay, I'm going to do observerships, I'm going to do externships, and I'm going to do research. And some people will say, oh, research isn't as important as this. But my own thinking is, well, if you're going to, if you know you have challenges, even if you don't have challenges, even if you have great scores and perfect um year of graduation, as long as you have to exhaust all options, you have to utilize everything available to you. As long as if you have the means, some people don't have the means, and maybe that's why they don't. But if you have the means to do it, I feel like you have to incorporate everything, because in some of my interviews, I got asked about my research, and that was something for me. I thought, okay, so it means it's not a waste. It means it's not just something to pad your CV. It means some people might pick interest in that. You don't know what the program director sees in your application that makes them drawn to you. So that really, helps my application, especially in pathology, to be honest. And I applied to four different specialties. And one thing people would ask me is, oh, how did you make your ERAS application incorporate four different specialties? Which is, crazy. But I got interviews in three. I didn't get interviews in family medicine. So I got interviews in internal medicine, pediatrics, and pathology, 8 interviews. So I got three in internal medicine, four in pathology, and one in pediatrics. And I think the reason why I got those interviews was because I had LORs in um each of the specialties, right? And I had observerships in each of the specialties. And of course, the research. The research wasn't pediatrics based, but it covered internal medicine and pathology.
Yeah.
So which was nice. So I think that is why, I was able to get those interviews. So people who advise against it, oh, don't apply to multiple specialties, narrow it down. But I personally feel it helped and worked for me. Probably didn't work in family medicine, but it did for the other specialties. And so yes, and here I am. And I did try to email as many people as I could, former residents and all. And of course, some people were able to help and like talk to their seniors and getting interviews. But the honest truth is, for most of my interviews, it came without knowing anybody in the program.
Okay.
or knowing anybody at all. You get, because to be honest, I mean, of course, some of the interviews came because, or maybe a former resident or resident they was able to talk to. So I was okay, look into this person's application and see. But for most of my interviews, it wasn't. It was just someone saw my application and decided to give me an interview, to be honest. So that just made me very happy and just made me think that, irrespective of low scores, irrespective of any, red flags you have in your application, you can still do it as long as you have a very good CV. One thing I must add too is having a very good personal statement and your LOR is written very well is also very important. Because I remember some of my interviews, some people also pointed out certain things in my personal statement that, oh, you said this at this point, oh, you said you have this foundation, oh, you said you had this, you get. So I also think having a very good personal statement and very good LOR also helps. And applying broadly, to be honest, I applied to 411 programs. I spent almost $10,000 in my application, and it's not because, oh, I wanted to throw away that money. I just wanted to maximize my chances because I know the red flags I had. You get, and I know some people might not be able to reach, might not have the means, to be able to apply that broadly. But if you do, I would advise to, because the first day I applied to about 300 and something programs, and after like 2 days, I decided to apply to, about 60 more. And I got 3 interviews from that 60 more that I applied to 2 days after the March applications had opened. So I mean, I think applying broadly is also very good as long as you have the means. And
Right.
one thing I would also say is going through, I spent time going through each program on Frida by myself. I went through each program, thousands of programs. I went through each programs in family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics, and pathology. I went through their websites. I read everything. I made sure I fit their criteria, be it score, years of graduation. I didn't just apply to anywhere. I wasn't random. I made sure that I fit into their criteria and I narrowed it down. Okay, fine. So how many percentage of IMGs do they have here? For most of the programs I applied to, I did okay. If they have above 20% IMGs, then I'll apply there. If they had less than that, I wouldn't do that because I mean, I just didn't think it was wise. You get in terms of money. So yeah, so that's my story. And I ended up with 8 interviews, and I matched in my second choice. So
That's great. That's great. So number one, the good take home message you talk about is exhaust all your options that you are
yeah,
having it. So whether you have great score or whether you have very bad score, still go and explore the options of observership, research, mentorship, attending some of the places where you can make the contacts. And if you are applying in like broad specialties like 2 or 3, which personally I don't recommend, but even though if you are having 2 or 3 specialties, make sure you have individual specialty letter of recommendation, individual specialty observership or externship, and definitely research will be helpful. And it's overlapping to some of the specialties, so it will be automatically covering the whole broad aspect. But
yeah,
the great part was you said exhaust all the choices that you are having it, even though you are 260 score, still explore. It doesn't mean that you're sitting at home and doing nothing. Attend the conferences, make contact, meet people, meet residents and fellow. Make sure you explore the programs which you put the criteria 20% of international medical graduate. So in case if you decide your criteria that you want to apply any programs and every programs where the IMG list or IMG percentage in the past years is above 20%. So you choose your percentage, you choose a safe margin you can apply, and then you apply broadly. That's what probably you said. So that is a good strategy. That, and this is kind of new probably, rather than arranging program where the scores are there or not, or red flags are there or not. That is important in filter, but this is a good filter you can put for yourself probably, that make a list of program where IMGs are in a highest percentage to lowest percentage, and then you choose that, okay, you have this much of X amount of the money to apply, then I want to apply up to 50% and above,
yeah,
40% and above, 30% and above, and 10% and above, something like that. So
yeah,
that's how you can short down or narrow down your list of application. That is a take home thing. Now, second thing, I know that your scores were below mean and it's not that great. But how did you manage that low score? People are thinking low score and internal medicine that don't go together, because usually the people who is having at least mean score, standard 6-7 publication, 3-4 letter of recommendation, they usually go for internal medicine. Otherwise, people choose specialty like psychiatry, like pathology, like other specialty which they don't like it probably, but because that specialty is having high value on research and profile rather than score, that's why they are joining that thing. So what is your take on low score and matching in still internal medicine program?
Okay, my take on it is this. I believe that yes, while for the most part, people with, average or above average scores match in internal medicine, I don't think it's impossible. I mean, look at me. And I say that because, and I'll go back to my first point, being that irrespective of your scores, scores are important. Scores get you through being, thrown out, your application being thrown out, they do. I mean, I couldn't apply to places that say 220 and above, for instance, and even places that will say 210 and above. I mean, I'm sure they'll pretty much still take people that had 240s and 250s. But I would say this: when you have a low score, even if you want to apply to internal medicine, that is when it's so important to exhaust all options. Make the effort. Do as many observerships as you can, do as many externships as you can, and do research. Anything to make your application look good. Have a good personal statement. Make sure your LORs explain your capabilities and what you can do. Now, I don't know what made some of the programs see my application and like it. One of the places I did externship, right? They wrote a very good LOR for me, and they also even got me an interview. So it's like I feel like when you're doing those observerships and externships, also make yourself very marketable. Do all you can, throw in the towel, be there, be very involved. If there are cases the residents are maybe a bit like they don't really want to do, or maybe they're just like they're overwhelmed with work, do it, pick it up. When you're doing observations and extensions, it's easier for someone to see, and be like, oh, this person is hardworking, and be able to talk on your behalf, than for them not to have seen what you've done and someone that you don't know just, speaks for you. It's hard. It's hard. So I would say you have low scores. You have to fight like your life depends on it. When you're doing observations and extensions, you have to be very much involved. If you have to be there at 5 a.m., be there at 4:45 a.m. If they close at 5 p.m., leave at 5:30. You're not going to do that forever. Make sure that you're very much involved. Make sure that they see you're working. The place I did an externship, I remember a case of a patient, that wanted to leave the hospital and COVID, and they were already going to leave against medical advice, and I was able to convince her to stay. I remember after that day, every resident kept talking about that very incident, and that is a quality of a good resident. They kept saying it, and the program director doesn't come to the hospital because of COVID, so she does ward rounds from home. And could you believe that they told her that, oh, there is a sub I here that saved the day. She's the hero of the day. This patient wanted to leave, and she was able to convince them. Everybody has spoken to this patient, and she was like, nope, she's leaving. She can't stay here. She doesn't have family, and they're telling her she has COVID. I literally had to go to the lab and print out her results to give her evidence that actually you do have COVID, but it would be very nice for you to stay. So when you do things like that in those spaces, and they see you, it's easier for them to overlook your scores and speak for you. And when you talk to them, approach them and be like, oh, I really need residence. They can see that you are above, you're beyond your scores. You're applying yourself. And they ask questions, you're answering, and people are like, wait, this can't be the person that had it 240. I remember word rounds. I hate answering questions, but I try my possible best to always like speak up and answer questions during their rounds and their morning reviews. And that they'll take notes and be like, this person, it makes them want to write a good LR for you, even if they can't get you an interview. But they'll be more inclined to write a good LOR for you. Right. And another thing I would say is that exhausting all options. doing research. Now, before I got into the research, I looked at so many things. So many people were like, research is not that important. If you have to choose between externship and research, I think you should go for like an observership. And while US clinical experience is good, I feel like if you have the means, why not do it all?
All.
There
Yes.
is no handbook. Yeah, there is no handbook that says, oh, well, USC is greater than research. Guess what? I'm sure there are people that had 2 years of US clinical experience that still didn't get interviews. There are people like that, and there are people that have research and all that got interviews. So there is no handbook. So why can't you do everything that is making people get this person did US clinical experience, I'm going to do it. There's research there, I'm going to do it. Anything that makes your application look spicy, anything that makes your application look attractive, do it. That is my own. That is what I feel like I overcame my low scores. I had a very good, I'm not gonna lie, I had a very good personal statement and LOR. I remember sending my personal statement to a former program director, right? My friend's school in Caribbean. So she was like, okay, fine, they usually send their personal statement to their dean. I was like, okay, fine, can he help me review mine? Just a review. And he spoke so highly of my personal statement. And I think that is the point I knew that this thing is actually very important. And he said something like, if he was in the panel, he would definitely vote for them to give me an interview. And I could sense that from the interviewers. They were like, I was going through your application and I saw that, you did this here, or you have this foundation that you help people, or you do this. And they picked that up from my personal statements. I remember my pathology LR, the person that wrote my pathology LR wrote such a fantastic letter of recommendation. I'm not kidding you. He wrote, and funny enough, most times you draft this personal LR, some people will say, they don't have the time. This guy wrote it himself.
Makes sense.
And it was fantastic. And you could tell that interviewers felt like they were reading it straight from his heart. So you have to apply yourself when you're doing, even if you get in observerships through a friend or maybe it's a family friend or on, you have to work twice as hard. You can't treat it like it's a family friend. You get, when you do all these things, you realize that you would get interviews even more than someone that has 260, 250. One other thing I'll say is when you get past the sorting out and getting an interview, having a good interviewing skill is very important. I had to practice it over and over again. I talk fast. And I remember one of my interview, an elderly lady was interviewing me. She's in her 80s. And she asked me some of my weaknesses. And the first thing she said was, well, I can point out one already. You speak very fast.
That we all know. You speak so fast. Yeah.
So she pointed out, she's like, well, she said, okay, tell me about your weaknesses. And by the way, I can tell you one. You speak fast. I was like, oh my God. I thought I was having the worst day. Like, I need to point out I speak fast. So yeah, you have to learn. Sometimes in my interview, especially the first one, if I feel like I'm talking fast, I try to slow down mentally. So you have to have good interviewing skills. They have to like you. Sometimes I get into the interview and some people get tired. I mean, these faculty members have interviewed people over and over again over the couple of weeks. And there might be a point where they're tired. They're not exactly as chatty or as smiley, but you have to, if they're enjoying your interview, they will be able to see that. And then before the end of the interview, they start smiling. The program I matched into, I remember vividly, I was the last person the program director interviewed that day. And you could tell that he was already tired. So when I got in there, he wasn't smiling. He was just, had a blank stare. He just, he's just asking me basic questions. And I said, I'm going to make you smile today. And I started talking. I was very chatty. Yeah, I was very chatty. And then by the end of, and I tried to ask very intelligent questions. I go through the program and see, okay, fine. What can I ask about this program that, they probably would know, they probably don't know, they probably have on their website, right? That I want them to expand on. In one of the pathology programs I interviewed, I asked them the specific PCR systems they use for their COVID testing. It was on their website, by the way. I just wanted more explanation on it. And the program director did not know the PCR systems they used for COVID. And it was on their website. So she looks at me, she's like, okay. I don't know that, but I'm going to have the chair send you an email to answer your question. And she was the last person I interviewed, that day. The minute the interview was done, she sent me an email saying, "Oh, thank you. Hope you enjoyed your interview. I've emailed the chair to send you, explain your question." And the chair actually sent me a message and explained my question. You can imagine. And that question was on their website, but she didn't know it, but she found the question very intelligent.
Makes sense.
So it's like, yeah. So you have to work extra hard. You can't, I feel like people that have high scores really relax a bit in other areas, but irrespective of high scores, yeah, you have to push, do everything you can. As long as you have the means, even the ones that you can't pay for, go through it. It doesn't take you anything. You can spend time on Facebook, on Instagram surfing. Why can't you spend time on their websites going through?
Exactly.
Reading every inch of their websites, you get. So yeah, I would say to overcome those scores, make sure your application looks very good. Do everything. Put your observerships, your research. Have good personal statements. Have good LRS. If you have to have multiple people review your personal statements and LRS, do that. Make sure it looks clean and have very good interviewing skills. That's what I'll say.
Makes sense. Probably, I think the another take-home message you just described, that how like absorbable your personality should be. Make sure don't consider someone's criticism as a offensive thing. Rather than that, absorb it, think about it, work on it. There is always opportunity to get yourself better and better. The score is not the only thing which will overall groom you. It's a kind of one aspect, but you require all other aspect to fit into the place in order to make your personality, your application, overall your impression good, better, and best, probably in front of other candidate, or in front of other people, anyone who is interviewing you. And one more thing I like about your way of exploring the program, not only application is important, but also doing PhD on that program, on that team of faculties who is going to take your interview. That is also important. Try to find out every major information about them, so that whatever concern you are having, that you can ask them in a friendly way, because you're going to spend your 3 year or 4 year of residency and probably 2 more year for fellowship there. So definitely it's not about only getting match in United States, but also about living the 5 more good quality of life year, spending there in the city, in the program, with the people, because 5 year is a huge half decade of your life which you're going to spend in that particular city, state, or in that particular program. So you don't want the quality of life of yours, or because of you someone else quality of life will ruin. So that is a great thing. So now my third question is, how did you utilize your research experience, particularly in this program of internal medicine and pathology, so that you can engage with the faculties more actively, and then you can impress them and you can leave your footprint on their mind? What did you do specifically in terms of research?
Okay, so for the research, I didn't have as much time to be very much involved. As Ovish knows, he always told me that all the time. Oh, you don't come for classes. And I told him, I'm like, look, I didn't have the time. I really didn't. But I remember anytime I have an interview, I would always call. Actually, I think the first 3 interviews, I would always call you and be like, "Oh, let's just explain this to me." I'm sure you got tired. I was like, "Oh God, this girl, go and read your research." But I'm going to say this, right? I decided to sit down and read. I'll read the research, but I guess sometimes I just wanted something extra. Maybe I didn't see in the research. I wanted you to tell me. So I read the research. I read it. And I remember on one of the interviews, right? It was the research about lymphoma, right? It was an internal medicine research. And she looks at me, she goes through my ARS application and she picks up the lymphoma. She's like, so what is the pathology side of this research? Okay. And I said, well, the tumor that was found was a B-cell lymphoma when they did the biopsy. It was a B-cell positive lymphoma. And she looked at me, she's like, okay. You could see the face of someone that was impressed. It was a pathology program, by the way. So she asked, oh, so what's the pathology side of this research? Right. And I had gone through that research that morning, and it's something that you have to think fast on. And I realized, well, we already found the tumor, they did a biopsy, and it was a B-cell I was like, yeah, it was a BCL. And she was like, I said, the biopsy they did was BCL. And she was like, You could see that she was impressed. So I would say you have to know your research. You have to know each and every one of them. They could ask you questions on any. Oh, what was the conclusion? Oh, what did you find interesting? It could be something as weird as that one she asked me, because I was not expecting it. But but then I just had to answer on the spot and it was correct. So you have to know your research very well, because these people, you don't know what they're going to ask you. There's so many questions that you review online, behavioral questions and all, but trust me, when someone wants to just be random, they can be random and ask you anything. And I've had a couple of questions from my research that was asked. So I feel like when you have to know your application very well. And if you do any research, know it. Major things, know the aim, okay, know the results, know the conclusion, know what was done. Just know certain things, but you don't have to know the specific numbers.
Yeah, makes
But
sense.
just know the very key things about it. Oh, what's the topic of this research? Oh, what's the aim? Why is it done? Okay, what's the method? Oh, what's the result? What's the conclusion? Know those things. And I think, yeah, once you do that, any questions they throw you regards your research, you'll be able to answer it.
So you think not only knowing the research, but also doing actively, you can change your interview strategy a little bit, shifting towards traditional interview from that typical questions to your research interest, and can leave some specific impression in the mind
And
of
then,
interviewers. What do you think about that?
yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
makes sense. And the last question, what is your thought about Research Update organization and joining the traditional course, and how it will be helpful to you, how it would helpful to you to get into the position where you are, and how you are going to utilize the skill to go to whatever subspecialty you would like to go into.
So I think research updates helped me a lot. I think one of the unique things about it is they help you go through each and every topic they have. And then when you're filling in your application, you don't have to do it alone. There's certain things you will not know how to fill in, pages, those numbers, and then you get to talk, you're easily accessible. And that's one thing I love. The fact that you're easily accessible, I can easily message or call. I'm like, oh, I don't understand this thing. I'm trying to fill my application and it's not looking right. And you go through the application with each and every one of us. You go through, especially the research side, and make sure it looks very good on our application. And I think that's one thing. And I feel like the courses, you get to learn a lot. I didn't have the opportunity to be part of the classes as much because I was busy and I couldn't. But and I feel like when I see the results of the research that was done and feel how helpful it was, the faculty members asking about it, it makes me think, okay, I would really love to get involved in this. And when I'm in residency, I want to do research because I want to do fellowship. So I will still want to learn more and still do research with research updates, to be honest, because I feel like they're very good and they helped my application. I trust me, I'm not one. I give people their flowers. I give people things that they deserve. I give accolades. I accord people the things they deserve. If someone does a very good job, or I feel like a particular thing was very good, I'm the one to put it out there and be the loudest about it. So trust me when I say, I think it was a beautiful experience, and I want to continue it because I have a lot of research I want to do.
So
So
what
yes.
subspecialty you are going to apply for your specialization? What is
Yeah,
your
I'm leaning towards gastroenterology.
okay? So probably, yep, we will be working together for a few more years.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. No, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you match everything paid off, your hard work, your friends, your family's paid, our work for your profile, little bit contribution from every single faculty and friends who help you. It's paid off. We are so happy for that one.
Thank you.
So now you are enjoying your vacation?
Yes, I am. I'm in Nigeria, so I have a wedding tomorrow. So
Oh, whose wedding is that?
it's my fiance's brother's wedding. I'm
Awesome.
also doing my introduction on
Awesome.
Sunday. So yes. So
Awesome.
it's going to be fun.
Yep, with the positive notes that the research is one of the crucial part of the profile. You can
Yes.
exhaust all your resources that you have it, irrespective to your score. And low score with internal medicine application is not bad thing to pursue. You can pursue internal medicine or 2 3 different profile if you are having unique letter of recommendation of that
Right.
specialties and externship in that specialties or research in
Mhm.
that specialty. So yep, we can end this session. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you
Thank you.
soon back in New York once you are here.
Yes, you see me.
Okay, see
Thank
you.
you. All
Bye.
right.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks.